Great, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm so incredibly excited to host this event today. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm so pleased to welcome you to the Women Shaping the New Economy event celebrating Women's Small Business Month. This event is powered by the California Women's Business Center Network and by a great event planning committee that we'd like to thank for making all of this possible right off the bat. Marianne Petrillo, Allison DeGrassi, Laura Carruthers, Clara Shook, Beth Orbison, and Claudia Vick. Women I can always count on for great advice and incredible insights. Thank you so much. Just some quick event logistics starting up for everyone watching and listening at home. Your video and mics are muted and off. It would be great if you all could join the conversation and engage with us instead through the chat box to make comments or add your questions as we go through the panel. If you have any questions, of course, put them in the Q&A, and our monitors are actually going to be the ones that will be assisting in pulling those out. I'm Isabel Guzman. I'm the California's Small Business Advocate within GoBiz, the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. My Office of the Small Business Advocate, or CalOSBA, has three objectives: to provide you with information and resources, either direct through shared content, and most importantly, through the incredible network of the Women's Business Centers, or WBCs, located across the state. I also serve as your voice, advocating for you across state government and in the private sector to reduce barriers and increase connections to capital, markets, and networks. And we advance your resilience, preparing businesses for disaster and helping in response and recovery. I joined the Newsom administration about a year and a half ago as I was called to Governor Newsom's vision for California for all. That resonates with me so much, as I know after growing up in a family business and after years as a small business owner myself, as an advisor to founders, and as a federal policymaker, as Deputy Chief of Staff at the Small Business Administration, that our pathway to a stronger economy is one that ensures inclusive small business networks are supported. And my office advises, incentivizes, and supports that growth, especially through the network of centers like the Women's Business Centers. This is the fact that multicultural and women-owned businesses could produce $6.8 trillion in gross receipts nationwide if their number of firms matched their percentage of the labor force and if their business revenues equaled traditional firms. That's 6.8 trillion. That's 3 times the current output of 2.4 trillion. And it's what Morgan Stanley calls the missed opportunity of 4.4 trillion. I share that because you are all here to help us close that gap. We want our women-owned firms to be competitive, to win those contracts, to be ready to go to market and run smooth operations to attract clients, win those sales in e-commerce, digital markets, and trade goods abroad. So if we can empower you all today, the women's businesses that are starting at higher rates than anyone else, then we can give California an edge in this increasingly competitive marketplace. And our women's business centers are here to help you take that missed opportunity. So women control the consumer spending across America's households, and we are making strides on the corporate and government side as well. So I know you each have a vision of how to better spend all those dollars, either improving or making a new product that you're launching, providing a better service in your neighborhood or in the supply chain, or innovating to solve global problems. So I'm excited for you all as you enter this journey today, as I know you need a team. Every business does. And whether you're a solopreneur or with employees, and the state of California and the WBCs are here to create programs that help you. On that note, we know that you're up against, juggling the multiple hats, and we also know what opportunities are out there for you to better access capital markets. So your action and participation today is going to help you gain that edge, survive the COVID-19 marketplace, and thrive into the future. So I hope you're fired up and ready to learn, as we have an incredible lineup of speakers to inspire and share insights. And on that note, it's my distinct honor to present to you a very special champion for women and small businesses in the state of California. The Honorable Toni Atkins represents the 39th District in San Diego. She started in state government serving in the Assembly, moved to the Senate, and served in leadership in both, was the Speaker of the Assembly, and now is the California's Senate President pro tempore. So we are proud to have her voice and advocacy on so many issues in California, including for businesses, with clearly a special place in her vision for small businesses. And I know we have a great panelist in the film commission, in the film space later. So it's important to know that she is also a member of the California Film Commission, a huge advocate on so many industry issues. So we're fortunate to have her here with us today. A pleasure to introduce you. So Senate Pro Tem Atkins, I turn it over to you.
Isabel, thank you so much for the really wonderful introduction. And of course, I planned to be in a different spot, but it turns out I'm in a car. So thank goodness for technology, and forgive the light on my face here, but I am so thrilled to be with you today. You know, this is near and dear to my heart on a personal note. My spouse is a small business owner. But I would say, Isabel, the work that you're doing is incredible. Between the work being done in the Office of Small Business Advocate and at the 14 women's business centers across the state, I have hope for California's economic recovery. After all, our state's small businesses create 2/3 of our new jobs and employ nearly half of all of our private sector employees. This year really has dealt an unprecedented set of challenges to our professional and our personal lives. Small businesses have shut their doors, workers have lost their jobs, families are juggling childcare, distance learning, and taking care of high-risk relatives. At times, it feels like it's all just too much. A recent New York Times article asked readers, why did hundreds of thousands of women drop out of the workforce? The answer didn't surprise me, and I know that it won't surprise you. As the COVID-19 pandemic has piled onto our already full plates, families have been forced to choose between bringing home a paycheck or staying home to juggle everything else. In the vast majority of those cases, women are the ones who feel the most pressure to press pause on our careers. In fact, a recent report found that between May and August, 1 in 4 women contemplated leaving the workforce or finding a job with greater flexibility and less demands. That juncture is exactly where the services provided by women's business centers are critical. Venturing beyond the comfort of an established employer to start a new business, I know can be scary given the risk and fraught with new challenges. But it can also allow you to work on your own terms, which is why my spouse opened her own small business. From webinars on accounting to one-on-one counseling to assistance in applying for capital and much more, the WBCs help women, all women, and especially women of color and women with lower incomes, see that dream of being their own boss is actually attainable. I was reading through some of the success stories from the WBC in my own community and was struck by Abril Echevarria's story. Abril had long dreamt about opening her own salsa business, but was intimidated by the idea and overwhelmed by the information that she found online until she stumbled upon the San Diego and Imperial Women's Business Center's website. Next thing she knew, she was meeting regularly with a business consultant who guided her through the financing, the licensing, and developing a business plan. And within a few months, Abril was the proud owner of her own salsa business, Sabor Abaja. Client stories like that are not uncommon at WBC branches across California. In 2019 alone, WBC served 7,300 clients, helped 5,000 businesses start or expand, and ultimately contributed to the creation or retention of 6,000 jobs. This year, women turned to the WBCs for help in applying for the Paycheck Protection Program and the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, securing unemployment benefits, or pivoting their services to be digital first. During the peak of the pandemic, WBCs trained over 16,000 clients, nearly 5 times the amount seen last year. That is amazing. Women are betting on themselves during this difficult time, and they're an investment we can all get behind. We know that when we support small businesses, our investment flows back into our communities because those business owners are able to provide for their families, and they can turn around and hire other local businesses to work with. And that's why I was proud that California's legislature was able to advance an innovative and an ambitious economic recovery program this year that prioritized small business aid. We cut taxes on small businesses, created a $100 million hiring tax credit to support small businesses as they hire or rehire employees. We expanded the California Earned Income Tax Credit to include the Individual Taxpayer Identification Number, or the I-10 filers, most of whom are small business owners and independent contractors. So California knows that when we empower women entrepreneurs, we're investing in working families, in our communities, and in our economic recovery. And that will make all the difference as we continue our path of economic recovery. So thank you for having me today to say a few words, and thank you for being such a strong partner in woman-run businesses. Isabel, I'll turn it back to you with my thanks and appreciation for all that you're doing and for holding this really invaluable conference today.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you so much for everything you do leading the state of California and the Senate and everything else in your district. So we really appreciate it. All right, everybody. So you can see that we have an incredible group of speakers that are sharing inspirations and are here to support you and be your voice. And so really fortunate. I've had a special place in my heart ever since getting to know the Women's Business Centers when I oversaw policy and new programs at the SBA. And the WC program, of course, is funded at the federal level and now also supported for expansion by the state of California through our grant program for small business centers. So it's my pleasure to now introduce a short inspirational video on the WBCs and the incredible women business owners that they serve. And so we can go ahead and tee that video up now. As you can see, the WBCs, the Women's Business Centers, have really done an incredible job working with such a diversity of women, truly representing the state and its great diversity, which is our strength. And so I really appreciate all the work that they're doing and bringing you all here together today as well to learn more about advancing your businesses. It's also my pleasure today to introduce you to a woman who stepped up to the leadership challenge of finding new ways to partner with the state and bring all the incredible WBCs together across California into a network, the California Women's Business Center Network. Nancy Swift serves as the founder and executive director of JEDI, the Jefferson Economic Development Institute, where she lives her passion of developing prosperity for all. And she's a founder in her own right, creator in terms of developing JEDI as a high-performing organization that is well-respected. JEDI operates a women's business center in Northern California, and we're grateful to have a leader and advocate for women's small businesses in the state like Nancy. You know, she's been effective when she has me on speed dial and can access and have your voice heard by the state of California. And I've really enjoyed hearing all the incredible women's business center stories from her and through the network and directly from the WBCs. It's really special to have Nancy leading this upcoming panel of some really incredible women's businesses that I think are going to inspire you all and hopefully give you insights and that will help you with your businesses. So Nancy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Isabel. Those are kind words, and you hold a distinguished role in the governor's office. And I can say, working firsthand with you, that you do work on behalf of every woman entrepreneur, and you champion them every day, and you bring state resources to them. So I am just so thrilled. I am hoping that the other business owners that will be part of this discussion would love to turn on their videos. I'm here today as the chair of the steering committee of the network of 14 women's business centers throughout the state of California. Excuse me, we come together as SBA federally designated WBCs because we have a common purpose to help women start and grow businesses that create jobs, increase household wealth, and generate more inclusive economies. Each center has its own director and staff, and together we share best practices and encourage each other, and are now compelled in light of the recent economic events to reach more women small business owners as the economy begins to rebuild in California. We are shaping this economy alongside these women and small business owners across the state. We are serious about it, and you can see that from the impact numbers in the video and what we have planned for the upcoming year. Now, right now, I have the honor and privilege to facilitate a conversation among three very talented and very brave small business owners. I consider small business owners to be some of the bravest and most creative people in our communities. They hold hope and enthusiasm to make things better through their business. They problem solve and create the best in changing situations. And of course, right now, the art of survival is clearly evident with these women and their stories. So I know some of you listening are really going to be able to relate. And we're really pleased and honored to bring forward their voices, as we all need to be listening to what women in this economy need. The way it'll work is each woman will get a chance to answer a couple of questions that I'll ask, and we'll bring out of that conversation. We'll listen for some recommendations that we'd like to provide to anyone listening, and certainly to decision makers near and far. And I know that after this, Michael Shuman has some recommendations that will dovetail a little bit with exactly what small business owners need these days. So without further ado, I would love to introduce, I'd love to introduce the three business owners we have working with us, we have here today. Wendy Lieu of Socola Chocolatier, Fanny Grande of Avenida Productions. She's in Glendale, Wendy's in San Francisco, and Callie Dim of Little River Inn, and she's in Little River, California. So welcome to the three of you. Thank you so much for carving time out of your day today to be here. First question, and I'll just go ahead and call on you so that we don't talk over each other. Wendy, tell us a little bit about you, your business, where you're located, what do you do? How many people do you employ?
Sure.
Get us started, and then we'll move to the next.
Thank you for having me. Okay, sounds good. My name is Wendy Lieu. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Socola Chocolatier. We are an artisanal chocolate and confections company based in San Francisco that specializes in Asian-inspired delights. We currently have a direct-to-consumer, corporate, and online business model, And we've been making chocolates for over 19 years, from hobby to now a retail storefront where we make all of our chocolates and also have a cafe. We are a proud woman and immigrant-owned business. Thank you. Oh, my employees, I'm sorry. So for my employees, I have 3 currently at the moment, definitely reduced down from previous in the year.
Great, thanks. And we'd love to hear a little bit more about that on question number 2. Fanny, please introduce yourself.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Fanny Grande. I am the CEO and co-founder at Avenida Productions. I'm a filmmaker and actor myself, and I found that Hollywood was exclusive of many underrepresented groups. So decided to take matters into my own hands, and we opened a company with my husband that supports filmmakers of color, women, and the LGBTQ community. Everything that we do is non-traditional, crowdfunding, production, and self-distribution. We've raised millions of dollars for hundreds of projects. We're very proud because these are stories that need to be told. And as you know, in California, the entertainment business it's a very large industry. So we wanted to create a way to be inclusive and empower filmmakers and artists to tell their own stories. And that's where Avenida was born. And some of our clients have won major awards like the Emmy and have been nominated for the Academy Awards. And it's very exciting. Currently, we actually have 7. There's 7 of us on the team. We're actually growing during the pandemic. We were able to figure out how to shift.
Terrific. We want to hear more about that shift soon. Callie, please tell us about your business and you.
I'm Callie Dim. I own and operate Little River Inn on the Mendocino coast. We are the only destination resort on the Mendocino coast. We have 65 ocean view guest rooms, restaurant, bar, golf course, spa, and conference wedding facilities. I grew up in the restaurant. So I kind of think the bartender was actually babysitting, but no one really said that. My great-great-grandfather built the house in the 1850s, and my grandparents turned it to an inn in 1939. So we've been doing it a very long time. Pre-COVID, we had 110 employees. I was the largest private employer at a single location in Mendocino County. To put that in perspective a little bit, Mendocino County is larger than the state of Delaware, and we had the population of about Santa Monica or Redwood City. So a very small population in a very large area. So those 110 employees were very important to me, obviously, and important to the county as a whole.
Thank you. So I hope you all are also going on and Googling their businesses so that you can frequent them after we hear more from them. So let's see, the question of the day and what we were hoping to amplify in terms of your voice is, you know, what have you been doing? How are you managing through this time? And if each of you would tell us a little bit about what happened right when the state went into shutdown, and then how you've come back and in what places you've come back, and take some time. Tell us, to be honest, and tell us what it took to do that. And I'm going to go back the other way this time. So Callie, why don't you start off?
I get to go first. Well, we were shut down for 3 months, and like the airline industry, we had to give refunds back to our guests for all those advanced room deposits. So it wasn't just that time sat still and we had all that operational income in our bank account. It was like the reverse vacuum. So that was terrifying. And we ended up having to stop giving refunds and relied on our guests to be very understanding and patient and wait till we reopened to get those refunds, or just leave their money on their account to come back at another time. We furloughed everybody except the golf course superintendent. The grass still grows during a pandemic, so he had to stay on board. But everyone else was furloughed. We furloughed instead of laid off so that people retain their health insurance. That was really important to us. and their PTO. We have a lot of very long time employees that didn't want to lose that PTO. What else? Do you want to talk about when we opened, or stop there?
No, go ahead and talk a little bit. Sure. Walk us through a little bit. First, what happened? And then what'd you start to do as you crept back?
So crept back in. So the golf was first to open, being an outdoor activity. So we got to open slowly. We really got to practice wearing masks and all the protocols on a smaller scale. And then, like I said, 3 months until lodging and the restaurant opened. We're almost fully operational now. We have 70 employees, where before we were about half part-time and half full-time. Our FTE is actually a tiny bit higher now, so we're relying on less people to do more work. It's very difficult to get people to want to work in these frontline jobs like housekeeping and the restaurant. I used to be pretty good at working on my business instead of in my business. Now that is completely reversed. I'm on the front line almost every single day, partly because I need to for operations, partly because our employees really need to see me not being afraid to clean rooms. I'm not afraid to serve people that aren't wearing masks. That's really important to my staff, that they see that. We have, after 80 years of being in business, shutdown in a lot of ways was an opportunity to evaluate everything that we do. We've made a lot of changes. I think a lot will stick. There's a lot of bright spots, but no way of knowing until everything goes back to normal, whatever that is.
So talk a little bit about some of those shifts. You talk about being nimble, and I think you brought out, you have separate businesses. You have many businesses under one, and the golf course became, in our comments, I remember you talking about the golf course becoming one of the more active ones. Talk a little bit more about how else you've shifted.
Sure. Pre-COVID, the golf course was affectionately a community service. It did not make money at all. Now it's very popular. We'll see. My big dream, we'll see if golf is enjoying a resurgent nationwide for sure. But if it goes back down to how it was before, not just our golf course, everywhere, we might turn it into a farm. We're actually looking to the future, and that's my passion, is everything food from start to finish. So that would be a super fun thing to come out of this, if that's what happens with golf. On this pure business end, we changed how we don't do refunds anymore. You get a gift certificate if you have to cancel. We are so fortunate to live in an area that is very popular with tourists, so our guests are okay with that. I don't think everyone can get away with doing that. Restaurant, of course, is outside. I added an automatic 20% gratuity during these times, so kind of the Chez Panisse model. I very much hope that the market will allow us to keep that going forward. I think it's great for our staff. I think it's a really strong way to support your restaurant workers going forward. Yeah, I say those are the big ones.
Thank you for a little insight in there, and I'm sure there's more shifting to come. Let's hear from next. Let's hear from Fanny. Talk to us a little bit about what you did right in that moment, and then how you've crept back.
So I'm in the entertainment business. We have been affected. We didn't know what was gonna happen. We were ordered to shut down our studio. We have a very nice studio in Los Angeles where we host screenings and fundraising events for films and TV pilots and web series and theater. And we created that space to be for the community and for our clients. And we were very sad that we were not allowed to use it. We were also following all the guidelines because we understand that this is a true pandemic. So we understood where it came from, but we were also very sad because it was very, it took a lot of work to be able to get that space. So we right away didn't know what we were gonna do. We were actually having our best year yet. And a lot of our clients were calling also to ask for refunds. And understandably, because they didn't know what was going to happen, we gave a couple of refunds, but we mostly gave people credits. And I had, because we do a lot of crowdfunding. You know, a lot of the issues with filmmakers is the funding, and we're very good at crowdfunding. So many people did not feel comfortable crowdfunding because people are already struggling financially. So they didn't want to ask other people to support their passion project. So it took me a little bit to figure it out. Okay, how do we shift the message? Because the entertainment business is a huge industry. We cannot lose this. And just now in the pandemic, it's even more valuable. Everybody's at home watching whatever, right? And thank God that we have that. So I had one client who said, okay, let's do this crowdfunding campaign. He was kind of like my guinea pig. And he was in New York with his team. And we were able to figure it out. We were able to say, listen, by supporting this filmmaker, you're actually supporting an industry that very much needs your support, and you're actually creating jobs. So coming from that point of view was very effective. And then once we had one successful campaign, we started getting more and more and more clients. So it was really great to see that we could shift. And people are at home on social media all day, so we were just asking them, hey, support this movie. As soon as the lockdown is down, you're going to help bring this industry back. You're going to help artists. You're going to help tell these stories that are very important. So we've actually raised hundreds of thousands of dollars during the pandemic. And we sort of have a captive audience because people are at home, so we're campaigning online. But we're being mindful, obviously, of, the tough economic situation. We still are dealing with not being able to use our studio and that rent accumulating, which is tough, but we'll figure something out. And we actually went on a limb, and we received one of those PPP loans, and we spent some to hire more people for marketing. We actually expanded our team, and we're kind of crazy, my husband and I, but we decided to launch a completely new service, and to support our industry, but also to support our clients. We have actually partnered up with thousands of movie theaters around the country. And we're gonna start hosting screenings, obviously, with safety precautions in place. And we're really happy because we've partnered up with major chains like AMC, who probably wouldn't have been open to showing small independent films. But because of the pandemic, and because they need people to go through the doors, they're going to allow filmmakers who otherwise wouldn't have these opportunities to show their films at their local movie theaters. And we're very excited because we're going to be able to bring audiences back to the theater and introduce them to the smaller films that have a lot of hearts, and to these new filmmakers who are very, very talented.
What a silver lining. That's terrific. Thank you. I want to remind everybody that we'll be able to do a little bit of a Q&A after each person talks. So if you have some questions, please put those in the Q&A, not the chat. And I see that we're sharing your websites, which is terrific. And we'll also be sending these business owners' names and their business and their website and their contact information to each of you who registered after this panel. So you'll be able to find them. Okay, thank you so much, Fanny. Wendy, tell us a little bit about those llamas in the back of your picture.
Oh, they're actually alpacas.
Alpacas,
like very close. They're a little bit cuter and friendlier. So the alpacas, that's our mascot. Her name is Harriet. She travels around the world to bring us flavor inspiration. So that's the deal with our alpacas. So for me, a little bit different, product-based business. So I'm just thinking back to that actual day where we actually had to shut down. That was March 17th. I think everyone remembers that day. I was at our storefront with my employees and basically get the notification, all businesses need to close now. And as a retail storefront, we have all this product here. And my employees were like, what's going on? I'm like, we don't know. We don't know how long this is going to last. we had to close down. So basically we're like, okay, well, let's prepare the store for closing for a month or 2 weeks. What that meant was we had all this dairy, we had all this milk, we had all these chocolates, we had coffee, all these items that are perishable that we needed to move somehow. So what we decided to do right away then was to give away all the milk to people in need in the area. And then all the chocolates and coffee, we made care packages to send to all the frontline workers. That was after the first week we realized, okay, we're not opening up in a week or, you know, or a month. So let's send all these out as gifts to help people in need and to bring some cheer to everyone. So after we realized we were closing for a little bit longer than that, we realized everything was getting canceled. All of our corporates, where we make customized chocolates for conferences, everything was getting canceled. So that channel automatically was closed. We had our online business and direct to consumer, where our retail storefront is where people actually come in and buy the chocolates and see us making chocolates firsthand. That didn't exist anymore, right? So we're closed from that perspective. All I had left was online and getting more focused on the virtual part of our business. So I spent a month or two kind of really sad, not knowing what to do. I couldn't make chocolates anymore. We aren't, you know, able to sell anything other than online. So we started to focus on that. And what I realized is that, you know, our product brings comfort and joy to people. And it brings me comfort and joy to make these products to make other people happy. So I just started thinking about what could I do about that. I started using this time to come up with new products. And one of the products I made was a new set of chocolates, which was inspired by my heritage, my Vietnamese heritage, called the Little Saigon Box. And it has chocolates that represent my heritage. And I started sharing that on social media and giving out sample boxes to different influencers to share. And what I saw is people were like, wow, there's spiced chocolate in there. That reminds me of home. You know, that was a feeling of comfort. And coming with durian chocolate, it was just like everything that, you know, reminds you of comfort could be shipped to you in a box. So that was one thing. It allowed for more time for being more creative. And then I also, because I couldn't do coffee anymore, made a barista kit at home so we could ship it to you and you just add your own coffee and you can make the drinks that we made in store. And that was one thing. And then we moved to virtual classes. So seeing that, you know, I wasn't going to be able to teach classes in the store and people aren't able to come into the storefront, I partnered with another business owner, a woman-owned business in San Francisco, Darteeling, and we started a chocolate and tea pairing. So knowing that we wouldn't be able to interact with corporate in the same way, we started offering these classes as team building, networking classes, and that has really taken off. So that's one avenue, which is virtual classes. About 2 months after we had shut down, we decided to reopen. I was getting really antsy, like we were allowed in San Francisco to reopen our businesses for contactless pickup. So we had order online, pick up in store, or you could order at the store and we could, you know, take the transaction and make it contactless. So we did that. We opened up for a few weeks and it just really wasn't the same. People are still concerned to come outside for their own safety. And then I'm hearing concerns of my employees, you know, safety as well. And then as a business owner, we're in that fine line of, okay, do I open and then just make 20-25% of my normal sales, which you're still losing money. So the game is, are you losing money being closed or are you going to lose more money being open? So at that point, it just wasn't making sense to remain open in that way. So we decided to close down again and just offer storefront pickups a couple times a week. That seemed like the safest option. And that was kind of what my employees and I decided, you know, we would be willing to do. And at the same time, still be able to do production and send chocolates online. So our focus then was, how do we continue to support our customers by, you know, continuing to ship out chocolates and be safe as well, right? So eventually we are hoping to open up again once people feel more comfortable to come outside. But until then, we're also offering local delivery to the condos in our neighborhood. So.
Yes, wow, lots of shifting, lots of new products. I hope you see a theme, everyone. These are the business owners that are creating anew. I'm going to spring one quick question on you that we didn't really talk about before, but could each of you briefly just say why you called a Women's Business Center and what one thing they worked on with you? We each nominated you, so I know you have a
For me-
relationship. Fanny, go for it.
Funding for me was funding, we opened this company with nothing, and I am just so grateful. I'm just so grateful because we started with a small loan. It's only $15,000, and we were able to secure our first office and hire our first person, and then and some marketing, and we paid it off, and they gave us another one, and just the funding itself. Also, I've been given a lot of these opportunities. I was recently, in the steps of City Hall speaking about my business for Women Business Day, and they also trained how to do like a proper business plan, stuff that you need. But I just love this. It's so supportive, and they're so proud of what we've done. But for me, the funding has been the most important thing, and we've turned that into supporting other artists and creating other jobs for other people. So we're just very grateful, because you need to have some sort of track business record, and they just believed in our idea so much that they gave us a loan, and it made all the difference.
Thank you so much, Fanny. And Wendy?
Yes, so I go to Renaissance Entrepreneurship Center in San Francisco, in the Women's Business Center there. And I actually started with them in 2012 to help me write a business plan to actually open up my retail storefront, which I opened in 2014. And that was to grow my business, since I started when I was a teenager, when I was 19, and it was a hobby for a long, long time. And then it was a side hustle while I was working in corporate in consulting. And then I wanted to open up my own retail storefront. And so they've been instrumental in providing me with resources, support, financial advice, all across the board. I couldn't have grown my business without them. And just a lot, I haven't taken a loan through the resources yet, but they've connected me with so many different resources just for support, just to help me strategically figure out what I should do next, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, virtual calls. What do I do? Give me some ideas, help me. And then the classes idea came up, and that definitely helped me in pivoting my business during this time.
Super. Thanks for naming your Women's Business Center. Fanny, which Women's Business Center do you work with?
San Fernando Valley.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Callie, same question to you, but before that, Marianne would like to know that she wants you to know that you run an excellent restaurant. But how do you evolve the menu and the environment as ordinances change? Did you get advice from other owners, trial and error? So you have 3 minutes for both questions.
All right, well, let's the West Business Services first. March 17th, all our money was going out of our bank accounts, not just us, but every lodging owner here on the coast. So we coalesced very quickly, but we needed a formal structure. So West Business Services provided not only a structure, they ran our weekly meetings for us. They helped us consolidate our ideas and put them in meaningful formats. And then they were a conduit to our local government and our local public health officer. So we were able to get our property tax and our bed taxes deferred. And I mean, they just help us hold each other's hands, I guess, and really got through it together. And I think the lodging model that they helped us create then translated over to other industries as well. So they were able to help other industries kind of get together and see each other through.
Thank you. Sweet. Yeah. And did you want to say anything to Marianne about how you figured out how to evolve your restaurant?
Oh, yeah.
There must be a kernel of wisdom there.
It's funny. We had this outdoor terrace garden back behind the building, so it doesn't have an ocean view. So we never used it. And now it is this fairyland with a tent, and we hardline the heaters in and twinkle lights. So we're definitely keeping that. It's kind of a joy to be able to reimagine the menu. People for 80 years have been expecting the exact same things on the menu. If we take them off, they got really upset. And now it's all the rules are thrown out the window. So yeah, we were able to modernize the menu a lot. We love that.
Great, seize the moment. Okay, we've got about 5 more minutes, so I want to be sure to ask you sort of what do you see going forward, and what kind of support do you expect, hope for, wish for, both from your customers, from your local governments, from our environment? Talk a little bit about what you need with what you see going forward. Some of you have talked about, let's approve some additional PPP. Is that still out there? Some head nodding. Yeah. And
Yes.
yeah. Fanny, what else?
Yeah, the PPP, we were lucky that we were one of the first businesses in California actually that got that. But, you know, it's been months and we need more assistance, and we will use this money to create more jobs. So it's a smart investment on our businesses, you know, to allow us to go back to the offices. If we follow safety measures, it's kind of difficult to do the work that we do, production, when everybody's, you know, virtually. You actually have to be, you know, prep and be in the same room. So if there were some allowances for that, you know, the AB5 has really affected the film industry, especially for small production companies, because we can't have everybody on payroll for shoots for just 2 weeks. So these are kind of the things that we need help with, and also be fearless and just keep moving forward. This is not the first pandemic. We can thrive. You know, new things are coming out of this, and we're learning new ways of living and doing business. And I'm actually excited about what's going to come.
Thank you. Boy, the optimism is always present. Okay, how about Wendy? And I'm just going to echo that somebody, Paul, you did ask what specifically could city governments do. So if anyone wants to speak to that, and I know Michael Shuman might say a word or two about that later. So weave it in if it's part of your answer.
Okay, so in the short term, I totally agree. I think businesses need funding right now. Like the initial PPP helped through the first month and a half or so, but that was such a long time back. So we really need funding just to continue on and keep businesses open. You don't want more business closures right now. And then in the medium term to long term, you know, we need to help change consumer behavior. We need to change corporate, you know, business behavior in terms of spending, right? I feel like a lot of people are now getting used to living at home, not coming out, not spending their dollars at their local nearby businesses, and they're just ordering online and having things shipped to their door. We need to influence some change, maybe create some campaigns that are go support local, go support nearby. Instead of, you know, ordering some hardware supplies online, you know, through big box retailers, why not try out your hardware store and see if they have it, see if they have the plants that you need. Check there first. It's a little bit more work, but you need to change that behavior to keep these businesses alive and thriving. So whatever, you know, the local cities, states, you know, anyone can do to make that change in you yourself, you know, go out and, you know, make that change and make a new habit, you know, that's going to be key. And once these companies start opening back up again and having companies or employees back as the virus lifts, how can these companies be incentivized to support their local businesses in their surrounding areas, whether that be by gift cards, right? Instead of, you know, having the lunch services they have, they probably won't bring that back for a while. Why don't they give gift cards to local coffee shops, local eateries for $100 or so? That will stimulate some money into the economy and help these local businesses. So how can we incentivize those large companies to do that?
Okay, everyone listening, call on Wendy to come up with some great ideas for gift cards. Kelly, your thoughts?
Well, on the consumer end, it's been our experience that our guests are just so grateful that we're open. I think that the world is seeing service industries like restaurants and hotels in a different light, and what goes into it, what goes behind the scenes. So that's great. Going forward, I think you can tell my employees are everything to me. So please, when I say this, the minimum wage increase could be really, really detrimental. And I know that it is possible to pause it. It really could be the straw that broke the camel's back for a lot of small businesses. So pausing the minimum wage increase would be extremely helpful. And you know, I live in the boondocks, live in paradise, but there are drawbacks, and one of them is broadband. No matter what the maps say, we do not have internet in the country, and we need it, and we can't compete really without it.
Can I add something really fast?
Thank you, Kelly. Sure, Fanny.
I wanted to also maybe put it out there to government officials that are on the call to make the procurement and contracting process a lot easier for women, especially women of color. It's such a difficult thing for us to secure any government contracts. You know, we just went through one that, you know, we spent so much money and time, and we had a great proposal, but we got denied because we didn't have a notarization, and we didn't have it because notaries were closed. So maybe be more lenient and be more strategic about granting these contracts to women business and minority owned businesses. It will make a huge difference. Like, I don't need free money. I would love to work, you know, and to create some media projects for all these government agencies. Instead of giving them to the big companies, consider going for women and for minority owned businesses.
Thank you for that point, Fanny. Obviously, your need in particular, and I know Toni Simons is on the call, and the Jetty Small Business Committee has been looking at just those issues. So there you go, Toni. And please, if anyone else is interested in that, call your Women's Business Center, because they can figure out how to help you start to prepare yourself to receive government contracts on local, state, and federal. I really want to keep us on track here with time. So we have come to the end of our time, but I just want to say you can certainly see how these businesses and these business owners matter. You can see what they mean to their communities, to the people that they employ. They are so critical. They are the fabric of our communities, and certainly we at Women's Business Centers, we live to serve you, and we hope and that we can stay in relationship with you and continue to advocate for the things that will support your businesses. So quickly in closing, maybe one sentence, a word of advice for other people like you right now. Start with Wendy.
I wanted to say, rely on your community. If you need help, reach out to someone, reach out to a similar business as yours, or someone else, or reach out to your Women's Business Center, and someone will connect you to someone. You're not alone. Everyone else is going through the same issues as you are, and you'll get through this. Just take some time, take it day by day, but reach out and get help if you need it.
Thank you. And Kelly.
Well, I would say don't wait for a pandemic to change, to adapt. I think the change is definitely the constant. And treat your employees like your business depends on it.
Nice. And Fanny.
I'd say be very kind to yourself. You know, these are uncertain times. It's okay to take the day off. It's okay to feel bad for a couple hours. Like, give yourself permission to take a deep breath and be human, and then just whenever you're ready, go back to the grind. But these are not normal times, so don't expect everything to be normal, and don't be so hard on yourself, because it's not gonna work. It's gonna affect your business.
So there's some very strong wisdom from three very brave women small business owners. Thank you all so much for spending this time with us. And Isabel, are you back on track there?
Yes, I am. Thank you,
Hello.
Nancy, and to
Yes.
all the panelists. I mean, Callie, Fanny, Wendy, you're your stories of resilience are really inspirational, and hope everyone took away some great nuggets of advice. I know, and Nancy, I totally agree with everything you said about the panelists, and just want to note that for me, the common thread, and I keep on hearing this across the state with all the small businesses that I hear from, is that willingness to change, that, be creative, but lean on your strengths and go out and get help too. So the fact that all of you, really, stepped up to find that assistance and take it. We all need that team, as I said earlier. And so it's really inspirational to hear your stories. And I'm adopting you all as my new informal advisors, because you all have wonderful ideas about how the state can improve, and the local government, et cetera, and the federal government as well. I mean, I appreciate everything that you said. There's a few programs that we've launched at the state, and, Get Digital California is one of them, and the WBC's participate. It was sort of building off the Governor's Task Force on Business and Jobs and Recovery and the work we did around Shop Safe, Shop Local campaign. We're now leveraging all those tools, those free corporate tools, and workshops, and doing some digital acceleration camps, and we are planning a digital pop-up festival coming up in California and a few across the state, so that we can really point consumers to the need to support local small businesses. So Wendy, I know that that's an important issue that we want to stay on top of, and government contracts too. That's one of my passions that I took from the federal level and brought to the state. And I know the Governor's Task Force, we're working on this issue along with many state agencies. And so I'm excited to continue to work with the WBCs, hear from these voices, and see how it can inform the work that we do in my office for sure. So thank you all. Great job. All right, so everyone get settled. I don't know if you grab a quick drink, and we're going to get into our next speaking session. So just a reminder, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I want to welcome now to the stage Michael Shuman. So Michael is an economist, he's an attorney, an author, as well as an entrepreneur. Incredibly accomplished, serving in multiple positions and designations. So I'm going to tell you some of them because it's important to know. He's the director of local economy programs for the Neighborhood Associates Corporation. He's an adjunct professor at Bard Business School in New York City. He's a senior researcher for Council Fire, where he performs economic development analyses for states, local governments, and businesses. He is credited with being one of the architects of the 2012 Jobs Act, federal law that dozens of state laws overhauling securities regulation and crowdfunding. So Fanny has carved her business around that. He has authored, co-authored, or edited 10 books, including the one he's going to dive into today with us, Put Your Money Where Your Life Is. And this is what he is known for as a visionary on this community economics, which he's going to explain further. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm going to note that he's a prolific speaker. So I'm raising the bar for you here, Michael, but this is going to be very informative and great. So welcome.
Great, thanks so much. And I'm going to just share my screen right now and put up a couple of slides. All right, so hopefully you can see my top slide here. And I decided to call this this brief talk about spreading the love, because I feel like women entrepreneurs have been through hell, and they can help to lead us to a much better place. That's really a lot of the work that I do is around local businesses, but nearly all women's businesses are local businesses. So this is an important theme to dig into. Clearly, we are in a very terrifying moment, and kudos to the three previous speakers for having been brave to kind of walk through and come out the other side of this awful pandemic. But the truth is that literally millions of businesses either have folded or are in danger of folding. And I'm sure many of you listening, if you have businesses, you are extremely worried about where you're going to go next. And honestly, my big message over the next 12, 13 minutes is look broadly at other sources of capital, namely investment crowdfunding. And I'll say more about that in a minute. But first, I want to remind you about why local and local women's businesses are so important for the economy. This is a study that was done about 3 years ago, comparing a co-op with a chain grocer in Seattle. And what it shows is that for every dollar that is spent in the co-op, about 50 cents goes back into the Seattle economy. For the similar sized chain grocer, it's about 26%. So what you can say is that, roughly speaking, every dollar that goes into the co-op generates twice as much economic development benefit as the chain grocer. And it's so significant, in fact, that if you were to replace the co-op with the chain grocer, Seattle would lose net about 100 jobs. There have been maybe 24 of these studies done over the last 25 years comparing two businesses, two industries, one locally owned, one not, and they all show that the locally owned business generates 2 to 4 times, for every dollar spent in it, the jobs and other economic development benefits as the non-local business or industry. But you don't have to take my word for it. This is from the Harvard Business Review in the summer of 2010. It's a regression analysis across the United States, and what it found, as the title says, more small firms means more jobs. In those communities with the highest density of locally owned small business, there is the highest per capita job growth rate. But not just that. This study from the Federal Reserve of Atlanta in August of 2013 looked at counties across the United States. And in those counties with the highest density of locally owned business, there is the highest per capita income growth rate. So in other words, if you want to raise social equality and reduce poverty, locally owned businesses are the best ticket for doing so. And that is why it is so important that we have to figure out how to save as many local businesses as we can right now. Now, there were many needs that were expressed by the 3 previous speakers, but I think one consistent theme was the need for capital. And of course, all of us want free capital where it's available. If the federal government is willing to give more PPP money, great. But in the absence of that, we may need to get really creative about getting capital, both to get existing businesses through the remainder of this pandemic, whether it is 3 months or 3 years, we don't really know. But we also need new sources of capital to grow our businesses to the next stage. Now, the big problem I feel like we have is we are investing our money in the wrong things. So if we had more time, I would be explaining to you that 60 to 80% of the US economy is locally owned business, depending on how you define local. These businesses, generally speaking, are highly profitable. These businesses are highly competitive. And yet, if I were to ask this group of people, those of you with pension funds, how many of you put at least 1% of your pension money into locally owned business, I'm guessing most of the hands would go down. Now, this is really puzzling and difficult because it means that all of us, even those of us who are involved in local businesses and love local businesses, we are systematically over-investing in Fortune 500 companies and under-investing in grassroots businesses. And the reason for this is that we have an outmoded system of securities law. Back in the 1920s, 30s, and early 40s, we created 2 tiers of security law, one for accredited investors, rich people like Gordon Gekko. And if you're in the top couple of percentage points of income and wealth, you're allowed to invest in anything, anytime, no questions asked. If you're the rest of us, you can't put a penny into one of our businesses, one of our local businesses, unless we do traditionally $15,000, $25,000, $50,000 of legal work. And of course, very, very few small businesses ever want to do that kind of legal work, make that kind of expenditure. So what happened is that this marketplace of grassroots investors putting their money into the local businesses that are essential for community well-being just did not develop. If we could fix the marketplace, it would mean a huge amount of new capital available for all of our businesses that are gathered here today. Some data. The total amount of money that Americans have in long-term savings, that is in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, pension funds, and insurance funds, is $56 trillion. And yet nearly all of that money, something like 99%, is going into global companies. If you were to take the 60% of the economy that's local and get your money into that, that would mean a transfer of money that was literally tens of trillions of dollars. It would work out to about $100,000 per capita in new capital available. Or if we just take the California population, that's about 4 trillion more dollars. This, to me, is the hidden stimulus. If we can get people to start shifting their money to grassroots businesses, to women-led grassroots businesses, this will be such a more powerful stimulus than anything PPP can come up with. Now, as was mentioned in the introduction, I was one of many people that was pushing about 10 years ago for the creation of legalized, not donation crowdfunding, legalized investment crowdfunding. And some of you may remember this guy. This was my first and only time attending a signing ceremony in the Rose Garden. And this legalized the Jobs Act, which was a major reform in securities law. And now, basically any company, including any of your companies, can go to one of 40 federally licensed portals and raise $1.1 million per year. And any investor can put as much as $2,200 per year into your companies, independent of their income, and more if you earn more than $100,000. This is huge. And what's been remarkable is it took 4 years, 2012 to 2016, for the SEC finally to get all of the legal work done on this. But since 2016, 500,000 Americans have put $340 million into local small companies on these federal exchanges. The average raise of these companies has been $270,000. The average investment has been $750. And significantly, the most successful entrepreneurs have been women and people of color. Precisely those people who were systematically locked out of the previous capital markets. And that's why I think if you have a fan base, if you have a group of customers that are committed to you, thinking about this as one of the ways you mobilize money for your business is really important. And not only is it business, but we're now seeing crowdfunding increasingly going to property and housing and other kinds of real estate. This is a website called Small Change. Now, I want you to also think about doing something more modest because, you know, if you ask for a loan or if you're asking for investment, that is a security and you're in the crowdfunding space. But you can do something else that's not quite crowdfunding and not quite a security. as a way of getting your feet a little bit wet. And I was very intrigued that several of the previous speakers actually did this. And that is, they issued gift cards to people or gift certificates to people in lieu of paying them money. But imagine doing that big time. So when the pandemic first hit, my partner and I decided, you know what? We care deeply about our local businesses. We're going to try to save at least one of them. So my favorite business in Washington, D.C. is Busboys and Poets. This is the proprietor, Andy Shalal. It's a combination restaurant, bar, bookstore, and event center. And we wrote Andy a check for $1,000. And I said, Andy, you know, I know this is a really difficult period. I want you to use this money, hold on to employees, use it for cash flow, whatever, you know, give me $1,000 in a gift certificate. And he said, actually, he's so pleased, he gave me not $1,000, but $1,200. So we got a 20% rate of return on our investment. Now, honestly, I can't save Andy. No one person can save a business, but we can organize many people to do this in our communities and adopt businesses and do prepayment as a kind of way of keeping them going. Now, I wanted to conclude by just offering some thoughts about what a public policy can do to promote this kind of support for local businesses and local investment. And I have a long list of ideas on this, but just to keep it short, I want to mention 4 things that I think California could easily do. One thing is that it could create a marketplace for local businesses. Now, this is a website called Investibule, which organizes all the businesses that are currently crowdfunding by state. But California should actually create a platform so that anyone in the state who is looking to invest locally and support local businesses, or perhaps to support local businesses through the kind of pre-purchasing adoption that I mentioned, that they know just where to go in order to do this. A second thing that the state could do is deploy a network of community investment funds. Community investment funds in which grassroots investors can participate. This is a handbook that I prepared a couple of months ago. It's free. It's called Community Investment Funds, a how-to guide for building local wealth, equity, and justice. We have profiles of 10 funds across the United States that are focused on various community priorities. And honestly, California last year passed a law to encourage cities to do kind of public banking. This is much simpler and easier for cities to create investment funds that they run, and grassroots investors put their money in for whatever kinds of municipal priorities that you have. And doing this on a state level would bring down the costs for everyone. Number 3, and this is sort of the focus of my newest book, Put Your Money Where Your Life Is. There are tools that are available, the self-directed IRA and the solo 401k, that enable you to invest pension funds in local businesses right now very inexpensively. California could play a role in educating the public about these tools, and honestly, California could even provide a solo 401k plan at zero to a very low cost, and make this kind of tool available to everyone in the state so they were investing in your businesses. Here's the last thing that I'll suggest, which is in the Canadian province of New Brunswick several years ago, they created a small business investor tax credit. Every time a New Brunswick resident invests in a locally owned business, that resident gets a 50% tax credit off of his or her taxes. How great is that? Suddenly, when you consult your investment advisor in New Brunswick, where should I put my money? Everyone is recommending you should be investing locally to take advantage of this tax credit. Well, the state of Michigan has introduced this into its state legislature, and there is no reason why California should not do this as well, to get everyone involved in putting money into your businesses as soon as humanly possible. What I want to end on is just this point, which is you can spend a lot of time hitting your head against the wall, trying to get money out of banks or out of hedge funds or out of angel investors or out of venture capitalists. Your chance of succeeding in any of these places is not great. Microcredit programs, okay, but angels and venture capitalists, forget it. I would think seriously about these new expanding grassroots options. And if you're interested in learning more about this, I teach 2 classes, one on local economic development called The New Local and one on Local Investment 101. This is where you can find me. I am going to stop right there.
Okay, Michael, and don't go anywhere because we do have some questions. Oh, actually, one of them was dismissed, but I recall it, so I'm going to ask it anyway. You had referenced that there was, there are over 40 platforms existing now. Where can businesses go to try to crowdfund and operate within the current systems?
Yeah, so I again would start with this kind of consolidator site, Investibule, bula.co. Plug in California. Most of the people here aren't from California, and you will see the kind of trail of crumbs leading to a variety of different sites out there, everything from Kiva to WeFunder to Honeycomb Credit to Small Change, and then you'll find lots of sites that can support you. I have friends in Oakland, Jenny Casson, who many of you know. She runs a Main Street local investment platform. If in doubt, I would focus on that one because it's local.
Great. And what's the name of that one?
I think it's Main Street. Angels of Main Street would be one way you get there. Yeah.
Okay. Angels of Main Street. Great. Well, we have lots of comments in the chat, really thanking you for the presentation. Very informative for me as well. Thank you so much. I know I've spoken to at least some of your colleagues who were part of the Jobs Act, writing, and I know that there's lots of creative ways we could think about that. So I look forward to partnership.
Great.
Well, I know that, and we just double check that there's no new questions. They would like for you to put your contact information in the chat, Michael, if you don't mind.
I will do that. Yep.
That'd be greatly appreciated. And so hopefully some folks will sign up for some of those workshops, and we will now wrap quickly as we're going over time, and we want to respect all of these busy small business owners' time. I really appreciate all of the speakers today, the Women's Business Centers, for putting this event on. I think it's been very valuable. Hopefully it was valuable for all of you all. And I know that it's going to be recorded and redistributed on Facebook and via email, and that the presentations as well can be recaptured there. I know I'm counting on many of these, new coming small business owners as well as existing small business owners to really help us recover in California as we continue to respond to this pandemic, which we're still in. And I just, wish you all well. And I know you're all going to rise to the occasion. And my office is here to support you at the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. You can follow us at California OSBA or reach out to us directly at OSBA at gobiz.ca.gov. So please feel free to stay in touch with my office if there's anything that we can do to assist you. But you're in good hands with the Women's Business Centers. On that note, thank you all for your time today, and I hope you have a great weekend.